did you meet these fantastic men? Ian, Paul, it's so lovely to have you here with us. Welcome. And I raise my glass to welcome you. We have the Vice President of Marketing from Zing Zang, the company who makes the best, not only mixers, but now ready-to-drink cocktails. Extraordinary friend Diane Mina joins us from her home in Las Vegas, where she has...
Need a push getting your spirits, wine, or beverage brand into the hands of consumers? Interested in winning medals like a double gold award? Proof Awards, the ultimate beverage competition, can help jumpstart your brand into the hands of beverage buyers. Enter the Proof Awards. Be a part of the Proof Awards marketing campaign with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. All of our judges are buyers, and that's what sets our awards program apart from the others. Our judges head the beverage programs for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, casinos, liquor stores, big box retail, and national wine and spirits distributors. Your brand will be tasted by buyers from more than 15 states across the U.S. We have hundreds of categories to choose from at www.proofawards.com. Be seen by 12 million readers with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. Get tasted and rated by buyers. The Proof Awards competition is open for spirits, wine, and beverage brands today. Proof Awards, moving brands into the marketplace. www.proofawards.com.
Welcome to Proof Live, where booze brands in the right hands. On a quest for the best tipple and toast with the most exciting and respected bottlings. Competing for the 100-point Perfect Score Century Award and the double gold and a spot on the top shelf to be sipped, shaken, stirred, and celebrated. Slide up to the bar with the biggest names in the spirits game as they clink glasses with your hostess, legendary connoisseur Jennifer English, for intimate conversations, live tastings, product launches, and the happiest hour there is. Now, broadcasting live from the commodious confines of the Swanky Proof Saloon, where the liquid elite meet. Here is your hostess, the Madam of Manhattans, the Duchess of Daiquiris, the Queen of Conviviality, your hostess, James Beard Award winner, Jennifer English.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. You know, with every day that passes, we get closer and closer to the 2022 Proof Awards. I'm Jennifer English, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us. We're going to have a really interesting step back in time, so to speak. We are going to Colorado and to meet a legendary bootlegger. When you hear their story, I'm going to suggest that if I were going to bootleg, let me say it a different way. When I grow up, I want to be Mary Curley. I love that when she finally got pinched for bootlegging, she didn't pay a single penny in fines. Rather, she wanted to have her stove brought to her in jail so that she could continue her own brand of hospitality and cook for people. If I ever ended up in jail, that's exactly what I would want to do. I would still want to cook for everybody I meet. But I love that story. And it's stories like these that tie us not only to our roots and our legacy and our past, but it gives us an opportunity to imagine what it would be like to sip back in time. Well, we're going to get to find out today. Mark SoRelle's joining us. He's the genius behind St. Liberty. I've got brand new. This is incredible. The bottle, I just want you to look at the bottle. It's so beautiful. The St. Liberty Mary's 4-grain. It looks like something that somebody dug up at a construction site, and it speaks to a party that happened at a different time and place. I love old bottles. There's actually somewhere in Colorado Springs, where they have an entire collection of old bottles. This would fit right in. It has every bit of dripping, oozing legacy involved. But then there's the sip. I can't wait to welcome Mark SoRelle to the table today. Step up to the bar, Mark. Thank you so much for this incredible history lesson in a bottle.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for this incredible introduction. So, so St. Liberty is just an amazing brand. It was, I've been in the business over 30 years. And while I was doing some research on another project, a whiskey project, I kept running across these incredible stories of these women bootleggers during Prohibition. I've never heard of them. My wife's been in the industry over 20 years. She's never heard of them, started asking around, and found out that none of these stories have been told. We all know the stories of Colonel Blanton and Colonel Taylor and a whole bunch of other men, but not the stories of Mary Curley or Bertie Brown or Josephine Doody and so many more. There was hundreds and hundreds of women bootleggers during Prohibition, mainly because no one wanted to send a mother or grandma to jail. So they got away with it.
Let's talk about that time and place. And Mary Curley in particular. You chose these women as this icons of the bottling. Talk about the recipe in the bottle and the connection to these incredible women.
So the recipes, when I started this, I was working with a whole bunch of different craft distilleries, and they were making some incredible juice. And I wanted to find a way to highlight this juice, and they had these incredible stories, and I wanted to be able to tell these women's stories. So we would pair these unknown craft whiskeys with these women's stories. And Colorado, I traveled there a lot, and I fell in love with another whiskey by 80 Laws, their 4-grain. And I went to my distiller in Texas and asked him to create a 4-grain for me. 4-grains are very rare. Wheated whiskeys, there's not many out there. Weller being the original wheated whiskey, but not a lot out on the market. They're very tricky. They're hard to make. And then I was also working with a partnership with Marble Distilling in Colorado, just outside of Aspen and Carbondale, who is and their master distiller is, she's award winning. She's the owner of the distillery. She's a master distiller, blender. And, while I was actually visiting them is when I found the story of Mary Curley, who was literally 30 miles downstream of the Crystal River from Marble Distilling. And I fell in love with the story.
And go back, because I want to really focus on this 4-grain, because it's one of the most distinctive success stories in spirits right now. You are having your deserved rock star moment. You won a ton of proof awards. You won honors. The judges loved your product. But I don't know that everybody. Yeah, oh, you got them good.
I got them all, man.
But I want to hear the whole story. But I feel like we're leaving people behind, because I think there are people who still don't know about the 4-grain category. And it's hard to call it a category because really not many people are doing it.
There's not many out there, no.
And I can hear people saying, wait, 4 grains? But I thought bourbon was, and then finish that sentence. And I think that we've done a really good job of making bourbon the American spirit and made it really distinctive. But I think we've made it too narrow. And I think you've demonstrated why we have to broaden our minds and broaden our palates to be able to accept these unimaginably delicious whiskeys. These are irresistible, and yet people might not know what 4-grain means. So can you break down what because we need to explain it.
Yeah, and with St. Liberty, we're very transparent about everything. So, and really the 4th grain, typically most whiskeys are corn, maybe some rye, malted barley, for the most part, usually high corn. At least has to be 51% corn. But wheat adds that extra character to it. It elevates whiskeys, but it's also very tricky to ferment and distill and get it all to work right. So this one is actually 65% corn, 22% wheat, 10% rye, and 3% malted barley. So
when you're malting, do you do all the grains at the same time, or is this a blend? I think this is such a fascinating look at how an artist makes color in terms of flavor. You're an artist who is giving us brand new flavors by virtue of doing this, and people are loving it.
It's all done together. It's all done together, and it's a slow process. This is a 4-year-old whiskey. We have some 6-year. I think we're going to release this year. It's going to be really nice too. So I think you'll love it. But the 4-grain, we started off with a straight bourbon with Bertie, and we had a beautiful rye, straight rye, and this 4-grain has been our biggest success. It's the one everyone loves. It's my favorite. There's a lot of story behind it. There's a lot of Easter eggs, if you want to call them, on the bottle. That are, most people don't understand why it's this or that, like the color of the bottle. But it's really I'm seeing more and more people trying the weeded, but you have to have a really, and I'm not a master distiller. You have to have a really talented master distiller and really understand how to rotate in the aging and everything to get it just right. And I think we've done a great job with it.
Can you speak to how the wheat element in the mixture of the of this product might have a really good connection or an origin to this sort of beautiful butterscotchy, like the really complex, smooth, incredibly luscious butterscotchy notes that you get in both the whiskey and the nose. I mean, this doesn't smell like anything else, and that leads me to think, oh, it's got to be the wheat.
Yeah, it is. And we have another very similar one coming out of Bone Distilling in Central Texas. And this one is you taste a little bit of the original one, that we started working with.
Mhm.
But the wheat, you get that Assam tea, and you get cardamom, and you get all kinds of really cool notes, and it evens it out. It really, and at 95 proof, it doesn't even drink like 95 proof. It's so easy to drink, and it just keeps developing on the palate over and over again with each sip. So it's one of the, and the other thing that's great about it, it makes great cocktails. So you can do both. So we've done a whole bunch of cocktails with this, and they've been a huge success. I'm going to join you though.
I want to ask you, first of all, let's talk about this nose. I'm just really struck. You mentioned cardamom, Assam tea. You're mentioning all the flavors that are personal favorite flavors of mine, and the judges love this. Not only did the judges love it, they loved it unanimously. So much so, you got the Century Award, the 100-point perfect score Century Award. To achieve that, all judges had to be in consensus that this was the best of the best. So congratulations.
Thank
But
you.
I can understand so deeply how alluring and how fresh voiced this is. This rises above everything else because it's got its own personality, its own distinctive, delicious flavors and aromas. I would imagine as a spirits company, that would be the goal and the hope. How did you know you had this magic? What was the moment when you go, we really have something here?
You go through a whole bunch of different lots and really try to pick the best lots. You got the same mash bills, but you got different lots that are different warehouses, and the way especially the crazy heat in Texas. That barometric pressure and everything, it really moves it around. So if they're high, they're low, they're in one part of the town, they're in another part of town, and the rick houses, and really kind of putting those together, and then blending them and trying to find the best blend between these different lots. But once we played with it enough, I was like, this is amazing. This is what I want to make, and this is what we make the most of now. So, and it truly was. The light went off in the head on this one, just like it did on our new one we're getting ready to release.
Do you have a house toast at St. Liberty that you share with guests when you clink glasses?
No, I have not, even other than cheers.
You know what? I have to tell you, I feel spiritually inspired by the stories of the women who grace the labels and the bottlings. I love the idea, especially about Mary Curley being the consummate hostess, running a hotel, cooking for people, risking her freedom to produce a spirit in the tradition of her native Ireland. Something so delicious that it's the thing you would welcome guests to your house with. To me, there is something incredibly powerful and connecting. I would love, if you would give me the privilege, I would love to sit down and sip with you sometime and come up with the house toast for St. Liberty. Because to me, that's the ritual of this tradition come to life. You've given me that magnificent sip to toast with. This deserves a magnificent toast. And Mary Curley deserves the honor of, they say, may your memory be for a blessing after you pass. This is as close to a hospitality welcoming as anything I've ever experienced. So I just have to lay that out there. I'm going to shamelessly pitch myself to you as somebody who
I
wants.
like the idea. I really like the idea. I mean, it'd be great to have a toast, you know. I've done it with other brands before, but I never even thought about it with this. But yes, I would love to work on that with you.
On the back of the label, you said there's lots of Easter eggs. I'm going to imagine that everything from the embossing on the glass to the actual glass itself to the shape of the bottle and the story on the back. I want to point people to the story on the back in particular of Mary Curley. StLibertyWhiskey.com is the website, and I'd urge everybody to go and visit it. Will you tell us a little bit about this bottle and about the Easter eggs? Because I love that idea.
Yeah, so the original bottle was, and it was before everyone started doing it. This was like 7, 8 years ago. It was an apothecary bottle, you know, the round apothecary. And at that time, I was researching other bottles and everything, and I ran across this beautiful 375 coffin-shaped flask from Ireland, and I bought it on eBay for I think $75. And I love coffin-shaped flasks. I mean, that was traditional for the era because they could fit in the saddle. That was what most people had. They had these flasks, but I never found one that had the pointed edge on the side. And it was the first time I've seen that, and I said, perfect. And then took a little inspiration from, you know, I think it's always great to admire other brands and see what they've done and then try to make it better. I fell in love. This was the same time Bevan Tucker came out.
Yeah.
And they had that embossed bottle. And the one thing, and my father collects a lot of, you know, antique bottles and everything. And he always likes them because they're the ones that are embossed because you can tell what was actually in that bottle.
Right.
So, and I saw the Bevan Tucker with the embossing on it, and I said, well, let's take this bottle that's recreated into a 750. Let's emboss it. So if anyone ever takes the labels off, 100 years from now, they see it, they can see it was St. Liberty.
Yeah.
So that was the idea behind that. The bottle, the color of the bottle itself was actually my wife's idea. Our original bottle is, like I said, a bourbon, and it's in a brown bottle like this. And then we have a rye that's actually in a green bottle. And she asked me, what are you going to do for Mary? And I said, well, it's going to be brown. It's bourbon. And she's like going, well, why not the state flower of Colorado? I said, what's the state flower of Colorado? And she said, it's columbine. I said, well, I don't even know what a columbine looks like. She said, it's indigo. And I go on, this could be interesting. And also it was really nerve wracking because you never know how the whiskey, you know, the geeks are, if they're actually going to embrace it or reject it because of the color. But we found this beautiful shade of indigo. And then we put that white label with the silver on it, and it pops. And it has been actually one of the biggest selling points. People love it. It was the first one that we actually did a side label. So if you can see that, so we got the beautiful side label on there now that has more information on it. But yeah, just an incredible color, the incredible bottle. We're going to keep going with this with all of our expressions. The other Easter egg on there goes back to my wife. These stories are historically accurate, painstakingly historically accurate. I've been run through the ringer on a couple of them, and had all the proof to back it up. There's no embellishments on these, but there were no photos of these women
Right.
back then. So the women, you know, that adorn each bottle is a composite of with who they are in my head. And I saw Mary, you know, with a cowboy hat. And then I at the same time, while I was looking through composites in that period, and around there, I ran my favorite movie, being from Texas, is Giant, and that's with Elizabeth Taylor. And there's a scene with her out on the ranch with the pigtails and the hat on. And I was like going, I want to put my wife's face on that. And that's going to be because she was the inspiration behind this. So that's the other Easter egg on there. So that's my wife's face with a rendering of Elizabeth Taylor from Giant on there. So Texas, Colorado, the whole thing. So I love it.
It's really exciting to see the global appreciation for bourbon booming. When I went and I picked up the bottle that you arranged for us to have here to do this interview today, I talked to the manager of the store. He had personally put this aside. And he told me so many things about the product, how the public loves it, how they can't keep it in stock, how it's an allocated product, and that it is so beloved and sought after, and that people that know it and taste it and love it clamor for it. I literally had a long visit with the manager of the store to talk about how much people love your product. Now, I do these all the time, and people acknowledge that they're nice products, but this really has struck a chord of connectivity for people in a way that I think is powerfully important for our industry. Now, before it sounds like you're making, a million pallets of this, we have to talk about the fact that this is still very much crafted in a tradition that speaks to, I'm keeping a hand in and on every batch. Would you talk a little bit about the intention, which is, I think, the most important thing that anybody can bring to their project? Would you talk about your intention in this project?
Yeah, with this, I mean, we'd love to, blow it up, but really, it's truly small batch. When you look at some of these other distilleries and they say small batch on there, and they're running these massive stills that are pumping out, thousands and thousands of gallons to be aged. This is not like that. These are done. We lay this down every quarter. We lay a couple hundred barrels down every quarter. We let it age. We figure out which one's going to work. Then we blend them together. And then, the one thing we never really talked about, the whole connection between Texas and Colorado, other than Mary, is the fact that we actually send each whiskey to the state where that bootlegger lived.
Yeah.
And we proof it with that same water source they would have used 100 years ago. So that is very intentional. We do runs of, I'd say, 450 cases at a time, and it's probably every couple months.
Would you talk about the proofing process? It's another
the
real
proofing process
thing that gets you to this result that's just truly irresistible, and not just irresistible. And I don't want to overuse that word. It's remarkable. It really is not like anything else. I'm going to attribute that to all the dimensions that are different in the process, but specifically the proofing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because, I'll take proof samples from Texas, and we're using, some really nice limestone filtered water and stuff like that. But when we take it up to Colorado, or we take it to Montana where we do Bertie, that pure Rocky Mountain water, the minerality that you get in it is amazing. And what's really even cooler about Mary is the fact that Marble Distilling's right on the Crystal River.
Right.
Same water source she would have used 100 years ago. We pull it straight out of the river, and then, do all the other magic to it. But it probably enhances it, I'd say 15 to 20% more than what I had when I left Texas. The other thing that Connie's, I like long proofing, slow and long. Just like barbecue. You want it slow. You want to cook it slow, and over time, you want to marry slow. So usually, most people are 24 to 72 hours. Connie sits there and proofs it until it's just right, and usually it's about a 2-week process. So nice and slow. Yeah. So it's a really amazing process that she does, and she really each time we do this, it comes out better every single time.
Now, people are going to hear that you said Connie and the word she, indicating that one of the people at the helm of this process is in fact a woman. And as we celebrate women in the spirits industry, you are truly celebrating women in the spirits industry, not just with Mary and the story of the ladies of the tradition of bootlegging in Colorado and around the United States, but you've also brought it to life. I don't want to focus specifically on gender, but if I was going to go all the way and make sure that this could be as close, everything that went into this, you seem to recreate the process of getting me as close as I could to what the dream would be. Can you talk about the fact how important it was to have Connie in this
Connie
process?
was a big piece. I mean, first off, I love what she does, but she was the first female master distiller and blender that I started working with. And everything about the brand is to honor women. not just these women, but women in the industry, women, period. We will soon, very soon, be certified women-owned, which is fantastic. But, we have an all-women's advisory board. We have a give back program for specifically for women entrepreneurs and education. But the thing with Connie was I want more blenders. I want all my blenders to be women. That is the most important, the diversity and the women interest in the company and all that. That is our goal, period.
But as with everything and everybody, they'll say, but it doesn't matter a darn unless it shows up. And is there any doubt that all those magical moments add up to the most magical new sip? Century Award winning, 100-point. It's the top of the top. It requires the judges to be in consensus. And here it is, the Century Award Proof Awards 2021, 100 points. Mary's 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey. Congratulations. This is really an extraordinary achievement. I would love to have you come back with your other bottlings and visit with us again, because to me, what you're doing is extraordinary. I hope that by stepping up and raising the bar the way that you have, that we're going to look back and say the whole industry is enriched by the example that you've set, and that people can see and taste exactly why this effort and these beautiful women that have made this possible, from their legacy to today, this is where great whiskey is born.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to be back on here with the new ones and with the new awards for the next contest. So it's going to be great.
Congratulations. St. Liberty, the incredible, delicious Mary's 4-grain. If you're lucky enough to find it, where can we go and hunt it down? We found some at BevMo. Where else are you distributed?
So in California, BevMo and Total Wine, Washington, Total Wine, pretty much Total Wine everywhere. Texas, Specs, Twins, stuff like that. So, but yeah, Total Wine or BevMo and Specs are probably the best ones to find it.
Congratulations and cheers.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.